Welcome back, everybody. Today, a little bit different video. We got an 06 Tahoe here. Customer came in, stated sometimes it cranks a long time before it starts. It smells like fuel. So I'm gonna get it on the rack here, try and give you a good angle and let you know what's going on here. And we're gonna take care of this issue. So we got the vehicle on the lift here. So I'm already seeing some leaks from the fuel tank here. You can see it running down the straps here. And actually, it said in the shop over the weekend, we got a spot on the floor. So it appears to be leaking from the top of the tank. Let's see if I can get you up here and kind of show you what's going on. It'd be hard to see, but on the top of this fuel tank, fuel sending unit, fuel pump, is actually leaking. All right, so I talked to the customer already, told him what was going on with it. We're gonna pull this fuel tank out, replace the fuel pump for sure, and then we're gonna inspect these lines running along the side of the frame rail here. We're gonna get started on that. All right, so got these lines disconnected, evap line here. Filler hose is disconnected. That'll actually come out of the fitting there when I pull the tank out. We got a couple more lines up here. This one too. All this evap hoses actually stays with the tank as that gets dropped down. I got drive shaft out here, and we got this front evap line off. So now we're gonna work on these bolts here. I got those soaking down with penetrating oil. Let's get those loosened up here, and we'll get this tank dropped. All right, so we got the transmission jack under it. We got the pads on it here to kind of help us get this tank out. These 15 millimeter bolts need to come out here. You can tell why they call it a shit job. It is dirty. These bolts are actually coming out real good after I soaked them in penetrating oil. If you run into this, they don't come out real good, or you get a couple turns on it and they get hard again, just run it back up, back and forth. That'll loosen it up. Okay, let's pull our straps off. There's one. This other strap off here. All right, let's let it down here and I'll show you the top of the tank. All right, so I got this tank dropped down a little bit. It actually comes out, you know, tilt it to the back and it'll come out. It kind of sits over the top of this cross member here. When I do them, since I'm doing them by myself here, I usually just let them down far enough to where they can't slip off the jack so the axle will catch it. Thankfully, we got lucky here and the customer left us with about 1/8 of a tank of fuel. So that worked out to our advantage. So I'll get in here and show you the lines I gotta disconnect the connectors off the fuel pump here. We got these two fuel pump lines here. This is an evap that will stay with the tank. Now there is another set of connections for the fuel lines up by the front of the tank, which are kind of a bitch to get at. So seeing how this pump is getting replaced, you can see there that line is just nothing left of it. That one either. We're just gonna take these. We'll deal with these after we get the tank out. We're just gonna, you know, because these will be a pain in the butt to get off there. my side cutters for that one. So there, those lines, the harness will stay there. Actually, this line will stay with this line here will stay with the harness itself. This is the only fuel pump line going to the front, or the fuel line going to the front. So right now we're ready to drop the tank completely out of here and deal with getting some fittings out of these lines, getting this fuel pump replaced. So let's get it on the bench and take a look at it. All right, so we got this fuel pump lock ring loose. A lot of times what happens is it rusts so bad around this little seam here, it makes it really tough to get off. What I usually do is take a punch and just beat the ever living hell out of it all the way around, kind of work its way loose. Be rust everywhere. When you're done, make sure you clean that up and then try to get this lock ring loose. I usually just hammer and a punch, knock it loose, get these out of the way. Try to pull the lock ring off here. Looks like she wants to come out. Just pops right out. Try not to knock any of this loose rust or anything in the hole. Keep as much out as you can. Alright, so I got another fitting here. I need to pull off the fuel pump. Let me get that off. You can see it right here. Let me get that evap line off there. Get all this out of the way. I'll get the new one stuck in there and we'll start putting it back together. All right, so we got that fuel pump out here. You can see how bad it really was. We had 2 lines in the tank here that you have to worry about before you can pull the whole thing out. Just kind of comparing the aftermarket one, obviously, to the original. There is a little bit of a height difference. This pump was the only pump they listed for this vehicle. Just kind of comparing, the sending unit is in a different location. We still have all the lines, connections we need. So it's probably the way this thing is. One thing I would worry about, which is this zip tie. We're going to cut that off to make sure it doesn't get into the O-ring we're going to put on, just to make sure we have no leaks or anything there. But I'm going to get an O-ring on here. I'm going to get this in the tank, make sure that it is, holding down on the pump. We don't want that sitting loose, flopping in there. So I'm just going to verify that this one is going to fit correctly. And we got a new lock ring, new O-ring we're going to install. Get this thing put together, and we'll go from there. All right, so at this time we got the fuel pump in, new lock ring. I cleaned out all of these fittings on the end of the hoses here on the tank and the fuel line on the vehicle side. So usually what I do now is just take a little bit of Vaseline. We're gonna lube up all these connections here. Connections on the fuel filler. This connection here, we're gonna do the same on some of the other connectors on the vehicle too. Some of where these hoses actually plug in the canister. So we'll do that. Get these plugged in here. Oh, there, that one went. Get this one here. That one's okay. Give them a tug, make sure they don't come off there. We got the other fuel line holes that will go in this connector later, so when we get it back up in the vehicle, we'll close that up. We got another connection over here. Make sure we lube that up. All right, so we're ready to put this back into the vehicle and see what happens there. Get everything connected. We'll start her up, make sure that the fuel gauge reads right, and this one should be done. All right, so just wrapping this job up here. Cycle the key on a few times. I bleed the air out of the system here a little bit. Start her up. Fuel gauge is reading about where it was. So yeah, this does it for another one. Remember, if you have any corrosion issues on that fuel pump, even some of the older Colorados had fuel pumps that were metal like that. They could cause evap codes, large leak, small leak. But yeah, in this case, this was just a fuel leak from the pressure line. So another one back on the road. Hey, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.